In this video, the Storm Prediction Center has a hatched risk for very large hail. That is that golf ball size hail or greater in northwestern Oklahoma into central Kansas today for your Thursday. But moving on to Friday, that risk just expands to an enhanced risk into the Texas Panhandle, all the way up into Iowa, going into Minnesota with all three modes of severe weather on the table. And as we go into your Saturday, that risk just continues to shift off into the east with that slight risk for severe weather, essentially from Oklahoma all the way into Minnesota. At the same time, we have a moderate to major winter storm impacts for very heavy snow and blizzard-like conditions for parts of Montana going into the Dakotas, as well as we have a rapid surge in temperatures reaching all the way up into the Canadian border by this weekend, but followed by a very strong cold blast of temperatures going into early next week. Welcome back, everyone. How's it going out there? Welcome to your April the 21st update. We got a lot to talk about, so let's kind of delve into the details and look at the overall setup for today. We've got a pretty significant cold front that's going to be coming off the west coast here. That's going to bring some much colder conditions and actually some rain and much needed rain showers for parts of Northern California. That'll actually sneak into Central California, then actually even creeps into Southern California as well, with some much needed rain for them back into the Los Angeles area, as we got ridge of high pressure that continues to dominate over the desert Southwest with those critical fire dangers into Mexico as well as the Texas Panhandle. But all eyes are on this little cold front here right around the triple point, and that's going to be setting the stage for those very large hail producers into northwestern Oklahoma and to central Kansas today. At the same time, we've got some freezing rain potential in parts of North Dakota today, where they've just been inundated with a lot of heavy snow and inclement weather, and there's more on the table as we get into this weekend. So let's go and take a look at the overall energy helicity index values, and this kind of gives you an idea of where the instability is going to lie right there in northwestern Oklahoma into central Kansas today. You know, going into that 6-7 o'clock time frame, we could be looking at some supercell thunderstorms. The instability is going to be high, so you could be looking at these popcorn variety type renegade supercells going to be popping up as we get into the heat of the day. And if the cap does break, those are going to be very large hail producers in this neck of the woods. So definitely be on high alert for that very large hail potential today. But you can't rule out an isolated tornado threat, because this is the tornado parameter index, kind of right along that boundary. So yeah, it's not out of the question. We could be looking at some spin up tornadoes getting into central Kansas as we get into your dinner time frame into this evening. So as we expand the view and go into tomorrow, that risk just expands into an enhanced risk for the central part of the country, as that cold air continues to push into the Four Corners regions. That'll bring the snowfall, increasing the snowfall potential as we get into portions of Wyoming, going into Montana. But at the same time, that will also increase the fire danger out here as the humidity values go dangerously low, and that increases the fire threat out here as those dew points rapidly drop out here into Mexico and to parts of eastern Colorado. But that warm front continues to lift further off into the north, and that brings that boundary right there, essentially right along into Nebraska. And there's the surface low developing over North Dakota. That's going to be dumping some snow and some heavier snow as we get into the weekend. But we're really concerned about this boundary here setting up in the midsection of the country. That's where all the severe threat is going to be as we get into your afternoon into the evening hours. If we take a look at the overall water vapor imagery, you can actually see the storms trying to explode right around 6-7 o'clock time frame in parts of West Texas, western Oklahoma, into central Kansas, but especially as we get near the triple point towards Nebraska, but especially as you go into Iowa and then going into South Dakota, that's where they can be seeing the very large hail potential as well. With all that cold air aloft, that's going to be entrenched in the upper levels. That's going to bring some big time hail producers out here into South Dakota. But just to the northwest of there, that's where all the cold air is going to be. And the snow is really going to be cranking up on the northwest side of that surface low as we get into the evening time frame. But as we go into Saturday, it really starts to amplify for them. I think that's when most of these areas are going to be under a blizzard type conditions with very heavy winds and blowing and drifting snow. 1 to 2 inch snowfall rates is definitely not out of the question into portions of Wyoming, going into Montana, as well as the Dakotas here. There's that little boundary here. We can actually see the low-level jet continuing to push further off into the east. And again, there's that boundary. It's a slow mover. Look at the warm front. The warm front extends all the way up into Minnesota now. And that actually creeps. It could be creeping all the way up into portions of all the way near the Canadian border with those well above average temperature anomalies. And that is just going to continue to bring the surge of that severe weather further north. And that's where we could be looking at some strong to severe thunderstorms right along this boundary into Oklahoma, into parts of Kansas, into Missouri, going especially into Iowa, but then going all the way up into Minnesota this time with those all three modes of severe weather going to be on the table for your Saturday time frame. And look at the overall water vapor imagery by then. You can definitely see that swirl. That's where it really starts to amplify. We're getting down to below a 980 millibar low pressure system. And like I mentioned, just on the northwest of there, that's where the snow is really going to be cranking. The winds are going to be blowing 40, 50, 60 mile per hour at times, blowing and drifting snow. It's going to be almost whiteout conditions up here into portions of Montana, as going into Nebraska for your daytime on Saturday. But we got all that instability down here with that surface low. And that low-level jet really starting to combine together. That's going to bring all the severe weather that's on the table for your Saturday time frame. But look at the winds. I mean, this is the winds over the next several days. This just kind of gives you an idea. I mean, April is always your windiest month of the year for most of the country. And it's no stranger. I mean, with this low-level jet continue to push across in the midsection of the country, these winds at times are going to be cranking at 40, 50, upwards to even 60 mile per hour gust in portions of the Central Plains, get into the Texas Panhandle, back here into portions of Colorado. So it's definitely going to be a windy week. Once that cold front passes, then that's when the winds are going to be subsiding for your area. But check out the snow. I mean, this is April, folks, and we got a lot of heavy snow, more heavy snow on the table back into the Dakotas. Those are upwards to double-digit snowfalls is definitely not out of the question here again in portions of central and southern Canada here, but especially as we go into North Dakota, getting into portions of South Dakota, Montana, as well as Wyoming here, with that 12 to 18 inch swath of very heavy snow. And you can't roll out some heavier snows back here into portions of the Rockies and portions of the Intermountain West as well. But as we transition into your Sunday time frame, there's the low pressure. Now it kind of lifts further off into Canada here, down to a 997 millibar low pressure. The storm continues to wind down, but you can look at the isobars. That's still the indication of those very high winds up here into portions of the Dakotas, as that storm will start to wind itself down and kind of elongate and expand. And as it does, it really starts to slow down as you get in towards the Missouri Valley here. And I think that's when the severe threat is going to subside a little bit and transfer into more of a heavy downpour rain threat in portions of Missouri, getting into Arkansas, going into Oklahoma here, and getting back into North Texas here with some very heavy rain setting up into your Sunday, then going into your Sunday night time frame. But look at the temperatures as we go into Monday. That cold front continues to push further off to the south. And look, these are high temperatures, folks. These are high temperatures on Monday. Look at the 50s showing up in Texas. That's 58 degrees. That's not a misprint. If that actually happens, that would actually tie your record high-low temperature in the Dallas-Fort Worth area back in 1997, where the high was 58 degrees. So that would be actually 20 degrees below average, and that's a far cry from the 99 degrees they saw yesterday in Wichita Falls. So there's a much colder conditions after the heavy rain threat comes on Sunday, going into Monday, it's sweater weather for parts of Texas as that cold air will surge just for kind of one day, though. You wake up to temperatures on Tuesday in the low to mid 40s, but then you're back to normal Texas weather after that. But yeah, we got widespread cold temperatures following that, all that warm front. But as we go into your Tuesday timeframe, the 26th, that continues to shift off along the East Coast, bringing all the moderate rain into portions along the East Coast here into portions of Virginia, going into North Carolina. But that gets along the coast, along the I-95 corridor, as we see that snowstorms continuing to wind down. And as we expand the view, look at all the cold air. I mean, this is April, folks. We're going into May. We shouldn't be talking about all this cold weather, but Mother Nature has other plans with, you know, well below average temperatures for this time of year. So that cold air, after that warm surge, we got more cold air, and that continues to go into the end of the month with well below average temperatures for portions of the Great Lakes, into the Ohio Valley, going into the parts of the Mid-Atlantic. But that actually just continues going into the first couple of days of your May timeframe, with those well below average temperatures now creeping into the northeast parts of the United States, as we see well above average temperatures for a good chunk of the Four Corners regions and much of Texas, where the La Nina is definitely in full throttle for them. But as we expand the view, and this is the kind of the reasons why we're seeing all that colder air continuing to trend in their northern parts of the US, as the AO and the NAO are negative, folks. It goes negative now, and it actually continues to remain negative through the first week of May. And that's why, with the AO and the NAO, with those remaining negative, that keeps bringing the northwest flow aloft. That keeps bringing the colder air continue to funnel in from Canada and being trapped in our northern states. And that's why you're seeing all those well below average temperatures. But look at the drought. Here's the updated drought monitor index for today. You can actually see where all the parts of the country are seeing some of that extreme drought in much of California, much of the West Coast, into the desert Southwest, and much of Texas here. You know, going into Montana, where they're going to be seeing all the snow, they need it, folks. I mean, they're in an extreme to severe drought up there. So definitely welcome sight with all that precipitation that's going to be entering the picture for them. But look, check out the precipitation where all it's going to be flying between now and Wednesday timeframe, with those 1 to 2 foot 2 inch totals right along the coast here into the Pacific Northwest. Much needed rain for California. Even if it's a ½ inch or even a ¼ inch in Southern California, they'll take it all day long. Fairly dry for the desert Southwest, but definitely much needed rain entering the picture on Sunday. That actually lingers into Monday with some 1 to 3 inch totals and much of North Texas, going into portions of Oklahoma. And look at all the precipitation that's going to be flying into the Dakotas, back into Montana, and much of this will actually be in the form of snow. And then if we expand off to the East Coast, look at where the boundary is going to be setting up as we go into your Monday, Sunday, Monday timeframe, especially along the Missouri Valley. A good 1 to 3 inch, even can't roll out some 4 to 5 inch isolated totals up here. We're probably going to be looking at for some flash flood watches going to be posted as that event gets a little bit closer. But with all the severe threat through the Central Plains and to our upper Midwest regions, we could be looking at 1 to 2 inch amounts for them, and that just kind of fades as the system continues to push off. But fairly dry for portions of the southeast, as you got a welcome relief from all the severe weather that you've been dealing with for the past several weeks. So you're kind of in a dry slide right now. You're really getting cozy with all the very nice weather for you. But May's coming. It's probably not going to last long. So definitely take the break while you have it. So hey, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video. Definitely leave your comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel to catch the latest update where I protect you before and after the storm.